Okay, so here I am assembling the mini satchel, and I am just using some cheap craft felt. It's a stiff felt I got off Amazon. This one doesn't cut well in the maker, so what I actually did this time was I cut the pattern out of cardstock, traced it onto the felt, and then cut the felt with scissors. So if you don't have the maker, you just have the Explorer Air. That's another way you can make these out of felt, is to just create your pattern template in paper and then cut them with scissors out of a felt. I have tried using the deep point blade on felt and I have not had very much success. So I'm just using hot glue. Now I've put about 6 pieces of a worsted weight yarn to stuff the handle. And now I'm just going to close this handle with some hot glue. So I've got it sealed at the one end. I'm just going to go down bit by bit and pinch with some glue in there. And I don't mind the glue getting into the yarn just to hold it in place and seal it. This is a cotton yarn, so it really soaks up the glue. That's the one handle done. Hold that while it dries. Just going to snip this excess. Oh, I'm going to have to use bigger scissors than that. It's really thick. And I have right over here hiding under some material. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'll come back and do that one after, but just to get moving with this is I'm going to mark 1/2 inch down and it'll be about 1 inch in. Half an inch, mark across. So this is my handle placement, and I'll do the same markings on both sides. So now that this handle's done, I'm going to glue the heart down right there in the position on both sides. I want to make sure my hearts are nice and straight. It was a little heavy on the glue there, so you can see it soaked through. You want to go a little bit lighter than that, or it will create the dark spots in the heart if the glue is too heavy, because it just soaks right through. So I will go ahead and do the other side, and then I'll come back for the next step. So the next step is to add the bow. So whichever side looks better, leave without the bow and use the bow on. If you put a bit too much glue on one of the sides, then just put the bow on that side. It'll hide it, or you can leave it without a bow altogether. So I'm just going to put a little bit of glue there, and I'm going to put the base to the bow. Next step is another little dab of glue right in the center of that base. And we're going to attach the fold over part of the bow. Just make sure I'm not sticking to the table. Put a little extra in there. Now I'm going to put a little bit of glue in the center. Now for the craft foam, I like to overlap, but for the craft felt, I like to overlap. But if this is craft foam, then I meet in the middle and I don't overlap, just because of the amount of bulk in the foam. So here though, I'm just gonna overlap it, press and hold, peel all these little glue strings off. And the final detail is the little heart. The pink really shows the glue, so I want to make sure I put it really light on there and just press it in place. So there's the little bow. Now, this next step we have to do one at a time, and it's going to be a little tricky. So we're going to have to glue really finely all the way around, curving it as we go. So it's going to be a little bit at a time, and making sure that that glue is not coming out too far. So I'm just doing little sections because I'm going to have to pinch and hold. This first part isn't too bad. It's as we get to the curve that it's going to get a little bit trickier. So just pinch and hold here. And then the curve, I'm going to want to be very careful and just do small sections around that curve. Yeah, I want to make sure it's dry before I start doing the next little section of that curve, because I don't want it lifting me. So this flat section is not too bad. You just don't want to be too heavy with the glue. If you do put a bit too much, just use the end of the glue gun to spread it out a little bit. But trying to keep it narrow as if you were sewing a small seam. Just try to have it lined up the best you can. This went all the way to the curve and stopped right at the curve. Just pinch that, get it dry. Go around that curve, just little bits at a time. There will be a little bit extra at the end. I'm just going to snip that. Depending on how you assemble this will determine whether or not you have a lot of excess or little excess. If you're sewing, you're going to be able to ease this in and you're actually going to use a little bit more fabric, so you'll get a snugger fit. So it's going to be a little bit trickier attaching this side. So we're going to start at the top. Sure. I'm going to line it up with where it's sitting on the other side, so I have roughly the same amount of excess at the top. That way I don't have a twist in my bag. If I lined it up at the end there with the excess at the top, it would naturally pull the bag into a twisted position. As you close this bag more and more, it's going to get trickier and trickier to work with. You'll have to pull the fabric out of the way. As you get to the end and it gets trickier, you have to be careful that you don't let the fabric touch in any way. So work in small sections and move slowly, keeping the fabric out of the way. Just pinch that, make sure it's dry. I don't want to be peeling it back. Let's bend. I'm going to be very careful around this curve. In a small section. Now this straight spot's easier, but because I don't want to have my fabric getting caught in the glue in any way, I'm going to work in small sections. Just lining up as I go. And then this little bit of excess at the top, I'm just going to trim it away. And that side pretty much lines up. So you can see a little bit of the chalk. I'll just use a wipe and wipe that off. There is a little bit of a messy glue there, but a very cute little treat bag. Or if you have a toddler, toddlers love playing with little purses or putting it with their little doll. It's a very nice size for a doll as well. Quick, easy, and cheap to assemble. Please like and subscribe to the video if you enjoyed this tutorial, and you can find the pattern for the satchel on my Etsy site. It includes the cut files, it includes a PDF file, and it also includes letter size print file if you're not working with a Cricut.